Good evening and welcome everybody to this evening's Facebook Live Q&A session. I am Martin Sharp and looking forward to having a great evening with you. As always, if you have any questions that you'd like answering, then please feel free to submit them. And as we get towards the end of this evening, we'll get around to having a look at those and get some answers back to them. Big shout out to Frank this evening. Good to see you online. Hope you're having a great time. And so let's go forward. So we've talked about any questions that you guys might have, so please make sure you'll bring those in. It's great to see some of the activity that's going on in the group as well. Nice to see what's going on around, what you're doing with social media. LinkedIn seems to be a big focus for a lot of people this year, which is great. And I hope as we're starting to come towards the end of the first month of this year, I cannot believe we're getting to the end of the first month, that you guys have actually had an absolutely wonderful January and you've made the most out of every single moment of it, and pushing yourself forwards, because at the end of the day you only live once, so make sure you make the best out of every single moment that you've got. As always, if you know somebody who could benefit from being in the group, then please feel free to invite them. We're always welcoming, and we can make sure that they can get some great advice in what they can do with their businesses as well. And looking forward to seeing more people share things as we're building this group forward in 2020. Speaking of sharing things, please remember that we do have the opportunity there to be the expert, and if you would like to share your expertise with other people in this group and maybe take a Facebook Live slot or even a recorded video, then please feel free to get in touch with myself, and what we'll do is make sure we can get you a slot on the expert view. This is going to be a great opportunity to make sure that you can get out there and share what you do with the rest of this community, and also be able to help other people. And if you're a bit shy, you're not too sure, or you're thinking, oh crumbs, then this is really a safe environment, so you're more than welcome to have a go, see how it goes, and then when you come to do something in a more stressful environment, at least you've had some great practice as well. So what's stopping you? Take up the opportunity and come be the expert and give us your expert view. It was great to be able to have oh crumbs, I think it seems I've gone past 2 or 3 slides there. That would be weird. It was great to have Alex on the first ever Talking Business on Monday, and hopefully you guys have really enjoyed it. Again, any feedback on that would be absolutely fantastic. Alex is a great guy. I've known him for quite a while now and seen his business go from strength to strength as well as himself, and it was great for him to share some of his experience effectively on what's gave him the passion and the perseverance to really push things forwards and to make things work really for his business. So, as we wait for you guys to send any questions in, we'll come back to the feature piece for tonight, which is how can I improve my cash flow? Sorry about that. So cash flow is kind of one of those things where we all know it's important, and the adage goes, turnover's vanity, profit is sanity, but cash flow is the reality of business. So how can you actually improve it? What are some of those kind of key elements to make sure that you have the money coming into your business so that you can use it? Because the reality is, as soon as you've run out of money, even if you are a profitable business, it is really game over. Especially when you start thinking about what banks and other kind of mainstream lenders will do, because they don't tend to lend when you desperately need it. What they do is they'll lend when you don't necessarily need it. So making sure you've got a really good and healthy cash flow is quite important to keeping your business alive, and also then tracking it, as we've talked on previous occasions. So, without further ado, let's start thinking about some of those kind of key ways that you can manage to get this to work. So, the first one is to make sure that you have a very instant way of being able to get hold of your cash, because you're going to need to have some things that are going to be tied up into payments, some things that aren't. So again, making sure you have almost like a war chest somewhere so you can get hold of that money as and when you need it. There are other ways of doing it as well. So if you're finding that you're regularly having to struggle to catch payments, etc., or some people keep paying you late on things and it's just not quite standard for your industry, then it might be worthwhile looking at what your terms are with your payments, or even looking at things like invoice discounting or something similar to invoice factoring, by which you can get paid instantly the amount of your invoice without having it tied up inside the customer for too long, and then the invoice factoring or discounting company will then recharge that onto your clients. Now they do charge for this, and it's usually a percentage of whatever the invoice was you've got. But again, it's a good way, if you need it, of being able to get cash quicker and not necessarily have to wait for your payment terms to be able to get things through. So it is one thing to look out. Now, another thing to think about is when you think about how you're dealing with invoicing and certainly your payment terms, if you really want to make that cash flow work better for you, then look at slightly shorter payment terms, or even better, look at kind of immediate payments or payments up front, because there's nothing that necessitates that you have to do payments in arrears, or that you have to give people 30 days or 60 days or 90 days payment terms. While in some industries that might be considered the norm, it doesn't mean that you have to actually do that. So again, looking at what you could potentially do there to be able to make your cash flow work better for you would be certainly a good thing to do. So take a good look at what your payment terms actually are, and what your customers may or may not accept effectively on being able to make sure that you're getting your money at the time that you need it. The other thing that you can always do to be able to improve cash flow is, as the owner of the business, you can always invest your own capital back into the business. So if you are finding the business is having a tough month or a tough 2 months in getting cash through, then you can always inject some life back into it by putting some of your savings in there and making sure the business does work going forwards. But do remember that is your business, you've invested back into it, so you need to remember to take that out of your business and work with your accountant on how you should do that. Many accountants kind of prefer you that if you are putting cash into the business, to try and make sure you take that cash out in the same year, in the same financial year, because if you don't, then it can actually have an impact on your statutory reporting, which means that at a later stage, if you did want to go for borrowings, or you're looking for some kind of line of credit for purchasing large items, etc., then it might impact on your credit rating if you've put money in 1 year and then taken it out a following year, just simply because there seems to be a bit more of an impact on your profitability, even though the reality is that there's no change to how your business operates. So do have a good conversation with your accountant when you do think about these kind of things, just to make sure you are taking into account all the considerations that you need to have in play. So, what other things can we talk about? Well, we already talked about actually taking deposits straight away, making sure that you are looking at payments and front and things, and again, that's a great way of being able to make sure that you have some instant cash right now to keep your business operating and moving forwards at the right way. And many people are getting more and more used to the idea of having to pay deposits, especially when you're doing things like business to consumer kind of operations. Business to business operations, again, feel free to ask for that, and in some cases some clients will be quite happy to pay you a retainer or pay you an amount up front, certainly if they're looking at a payment of something that's going to be of an asset of some kind. But do be warned that in many cases, a lot of business practices, they will look to try and retain amount of money, which is usually the equivalent of whatever your profitability line would be, just simply to try and keep you sweet and make sure you do actually deliver on your deal. But the thing is, you guys are all great guys, you're all going to be delivering absolutely fantastic service, so I know that that's never going to be an issue for you in regards to being able to get that final monies off your clients. So do ask for some money up front. I mean, you can always ask, they can always say no, but at least you've got that opportunity to kind of push it forward and make it happen. Just double checking, make sure you guys can hear me. If you can hear me okay, give me lots of likes and thumbs up, etc. Or any comments in the comment box. Hi Paul, good to see that you've joined us today as well. Nice to see you online. I hope you've been enjoying yourself as well. Saw a couple of videos the other day. The other thing that you can start to think about as well is if you sign up with a new client or with a new customer potentially, then you might be carrying a little bit more risk because you might not necessarily know exactly who they are. So you might want to actually ask them to pay a pro forma invoice so they can have it paid up front as opposed to being something that's going to get paid later. So do think about how those kind of pro formas may work and how it's going to encourage them to pay sooner for you. It might even be worthwhile credit checking your customers as well. Now, if with some accountants, they actually have credit check services with them, and in which case you wouldn't necessarily have to pay for those services. It might be something that comes as included with your accountant. So have a chat with your accountant and just see what services they can provide, because again, this is a great added benefit and feature that they sometimes have, and definitely make the most of it. The other thing, and I think I clicked the button a little bit too quick, so you could probably guess what the next one is you want to kind of encourage early payments. So think about putting things like discounts in there for early payments. So if your standard payment terms is 30 days, maybe you want to say, okay, if you pay within 5 days, then what we'll do is we'll knock 2%, 5% off of the fee. And remember, when it comes down to anything with discounting, you can only ever discount if you're doing a value exchange. That being, you've already set the price of your goods. If you start just discounting your goods willy-nilly or your services willy-nilly, then the reality is then people don't believe that you've actually got a good quality service, because you can basically change the price of your stuff whenever you want. So you really need to make sure that whenever you are doing kind of discounting, it always is a value exchange. So early payments, one great example of a value exchange, because it means that your cash flow is going to be improved. Other things you can think about with a value exchange with discounting can include bulk purchases. So it might be the purchases a number of days or a number of hours or a number of actual physical items off you up front, and this might be like 2 years worth, 5 years worth, or whatever the number is. That can contribute to a discount, and again that gives you a value, because obviously the value exchange in this one is that you don't have to go out and win more of that work all the time. You can also think about testimonials, because testimonials and recommendations are always valuable, and it's something you should always be out there looking for. So again, you can create this kind of value exchange there in respect of asking for the testimonial, and that might encourage a percentage drop on the price as well. And also for things like referrals. Now the thing with referrals, and do think about this, is if you are going to ask for a referral, make sure it's an active referral, and don't actually give the discount until they have made the introduction to the new person. It's the person that believes that your service will work for them. Because if you kind of give them a discount before that, then the reality is most people don't actually follow through on the referral, or if they do, it tends to be just giving you a name and a telephone number. And while that might be slightly warmer than a cold lead, it's certainly not as warm as it would be if they give you an active referral for that particular client or potential client. So that kind of covers. Sorry, I didn't click the button. There you go. I've clicked the button. Now we have got the discounting on there. The other thing to kind of help with your kind of cash flow pieces is really start thinking about actually how do you deal with paying your suppliers, because if you're on 30-day terms with your clients but your suppliers are expecting you to pay straight away or even up front, because these are the kind of things that you'll be putting in place going forwards, then you think about how you can actually pay that a little bit longer with some of your clients. Maybe negotiate with them and say you're going to have 30-day terms or 60-day terms, and then that way you can keep that money inside your business for that a little bit longer, which again helps your cash flow on a month in, month out basis. So that kind of gives us a few ideas hopefully on how you can improve your cash flow, and how you can actually make use of actually some of those various different methods to make cash flow work for you. Now obviously we're here to answer questions and see anything that you guys need answering from the business perspective. So let's have a look and see what's on the feed, see what we've got there. So I can see Chris has joined as well. Good to see you there, Chris. I don't see any questions at this point in time though, so I'm going to take that as being we haven't got any questions, but I'll give you guys a few more minutes, and while we're just waiting a few more minutes, just to remind you, we have got that expert view opportunity here for you guys, so please take advantage of that and get in contact, and we'll get you online and presenting what you are an expert in, and really to help show yourself in the best light and deliver some great value to people that are on this group. Also remembering that you can use this as a way of being able to get some practice in doing what you do. So if you find that this might be the first time you've done a presentation or the first time you've done a live video, or maybe it's something where you've done a few live videos and you just want to have another experience of doing it, then use this platform for that. We're welcoming everybody to be able to use this as a way of being able to improve your business, you become that growing, profitable and sustainable business. Also remember, we have got the Talking Business opportunity there, so please, if you're interested in being interviewed and you have a great example of what goes well in a business, or even sometimes what doesn't go quite as well, because remember, everything we do is either a warning or it's a recommendation. We can either show ourselves as something that we shouldn't be doing, and therefore guys, don't do this is a silly thing to do, or actually this is something that worked really well for us, so replicate this is a great way way of being able to do to move yourself forward. So do take up that opportunity to become an interviewer, and then we'll have a great time walking through it. I'm already talking to a couple more people on that. As we've talked about, Dave was talking about doing one around psychometric profiling, so we'll hopefully get him on soon. And we've got another Dave actually. So one's David Marsh, and the other one's David Crumbs. I'm having one of those brain moments. Anyway, so they'll be coming on and doing some interviews for us in a few weeks. I've just got to schedule it in and make sure everyone's happy with the dates and the times. I've also been speaking with a LinkedIn expert who's talking about potentially coming in and doing a feature set and an interview. I've been talking to a small business marketing expert who deals specifically with trade people, and he's interested in coming and doing a segment as well. So we're going to have some really interesting expert views and talking businesses in the weeks and months ahead. So stay tuned for those, and obviously I will schedule in on the Facebook group. Just coming back to see if there's any other questions that have come through. Everyone's quiet this evening, so I hope that means that either you're all tired because you've had a really active January, or you're very much fulfilled and you've got no questions at this point in time. But please feel free, ask questions away. That's what we're here for, is to try and help you build that growing, profitable and sustainable business. And without further ado, I'd like to say well done for an absolutely fabulous January. I hope you guys are going to have a great remainder of the year, and look forward to speaking to you again in the new year. Oh, not in the new year. Speak to you again in a couple of weeks. Bye for now.